This is a weekly event we can do every Friday at 9 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Eastern, where we go over various topics of the FasTrax software. You can see a list of these events if you go to our website, goftx.com, choose the FTx Lifeline button at the top of the page, scroll down just a bit and look for that webinar button, choose that. This will bring you to the webinar landing page where you can view all of our previous webinars by using the View Recording button, sign up for upcoming webinars, and then sign up for the newsletter. Today we're going to be going over a topic that can make life a lot easier at stores, lottery reconciliation. So first and foremost is going to be setting everything up to do the lottery reconciliation. So the first place we have to start will be the POS flags. So I'm going to go to my maintenance module here, and I'm going to go to my POS flags, and we're going to make sure that we have some non-taxable POS flags set up, because lottery tickets and lottery online sales, for the most part, are never taxed. So in this case, I've got a non-taxable POS flag, and I've got that assigned to my non-taxable tax group. And then I've got a negative non-taxable. Now the difference here is going to be this sign. This is a positive amount, and that is a negative amount. And we'll go over why that's important here in just a bit. What that's going to do, though, is going to be whenever you're entering in a dollar amount on the transaction, whether it be a manual dollar amount or an item being scanned, if it's a positive amount, the plus sign there, then it's going to charge the customer money. If it's a negative amount, then it's going to be expecting the cashier to give customer money back. So the next thing we're going to have to do is we're going to have to make sure we have departments set up appropriately. And I've got 4 departments here. I've got my online lottery sales, and then my online lottery payouts. And I've got that abbreviated for Lotto in this scenario. And then I've got my scratch tickets, which is my lottery sales, and my lottery payouts. Now, of course, for my sales, I want to use that non-taxable POS flag because I want it to charge the customer money. So on this department, I make sure that I have this POS flag for non-taxable set in place. That's where it's charging the customer money. Then for both payouts, I have it set for a negative non-taxable. And that's where that sign is negative on the POS flag, so it's going to be expecting the cashier to give money back. Now, that's going to be important for redemptions. Okay, so we've got our department set up. So we need to now have items set up. Now, of course, with your online lottery, that's generally going to be an open department. And we're going to go over how to set that up here in just a bit. But for your scratch tickets, that's inventory at store levels. So you want to make sure that you're keeping accurate inventory on your tickets. That's the whole purpose of a reconciliation process. So we have to first have items set up in the price book. And that's going to be set up just like a standard item. So if I go to my lottery major category here, and I have 3 lottery tickets set up, they're going to have a UPC, they're going to have a description, they're going to be assigned to in this case, the scratch ticket department, department number 3. I've got my categorization set up the way I want, and then I've got a cost and a price. Now, if you want to keep proper inventory levels, including doing activations at store level, then you're also going to want to have a vendor part set up on those lottery tickets. This will be important for book activations. So I've got a vendor part here set up assigned to a vendor, and the number of units, that's going to be very important. When you're receiving anything on an invoice with a vendor part, the number of units is essentially going to be how many of this UPC, this item here, am I going to add into inventory whenever I receive in this vendor part. So what this is telling me is whenever I'm adding in this one vendor part, one single vendor part on an invoice, it's going to be adding in 100 of this UPC, 100 of that scratch ticket to my inventory levels. And that's perfect because this will be a book of 100 tickets. So if we look at my other tickets I have set up here, it's a different cost, different price, but notice the vendor part has 20 as the number of units. That's because this is going to be a book of 20 tickets. If I go to another here, we'll see everything looks normal. But for the vendor part, I have 50. That's telling me that this is going to be a book of 50 tickets whenever I receive it. So once the items are built and set appropriately, then we're going to go to the inventory module, and we're going to go to the lottery reconciliation tab, and we're going to go to the lottery items tab. This is where we're going to actually set up the lottery items and assign it a game number and a number of tickets per book. So I've got that lottery item number here, number 1. I've got it assigned to that UPC that has the same description in the item detail screen. You can see there's that description. It's automatically pulling in the retail price. Here, this box is editable. I can actually assign the lottery game number. So I've got this just assigned to book number 1000. And then I've got the number of tickets on that roll. So in this case, I've got it set for 100 tickets. If I look at the lottery item number 2, I've got its assigned UPC. There's its description that's automatically pulled in. There's its retail price. There's the game number that I manually assigned. And then there's the number of tickets on the roll. And then same for number 3. Now, is game active? Whenever you're building a new lottery game, you probably are going to check that as active, because otherwise that's not going to get sent to the store. That's important for the fact that this is an active game. So that can be used, sold, inventoried at store level. Now, as games over time are no longer sold, that's where you'll come in here and you'll mark this game as inactive and then save it. And then that will basically deactivate that lottery game where it's not going to show up on the reconciliation anymore because it's not being sold. Now, you can also mass change lottery tickets. So if I use this 3 cogwheel here, I can mass assign the games to different price book zones. So if I have 1 or 50 price book zones, I can mass assign all of these tickets to different price book zones. I can also mass deactivate games. If I click and highlight, I can choose this X here, and that will deactivate the game. So I'm not having to go one by one and deactivate, save, next one, click is game active, set that defaults, save, so on and so forth. So let's go through the process of building an item and then adding it to a lottery game really fast. So I'm going to pull up my existing tickets. And I'm just going to copy this UPC. I'm going to choose new item, make up a UPC. It doesn't exist. I'm going to choose yes. I've already got it assigned to my lottery sale department, so I'm going to choose save. Just due to order of operations, I want to save the item before actually building a vendor part. So now that I've got the item saved, I want to add a vendor part to this. So I'm going to choose add part. That's the vendor I wanted in place and assigned to. This will be another 100 ticket roll. Save that part and then save. So I've got my actual UPC built. Inventory can now be stored on this item. Now I'm going to go to my inventory module, lottery reconciliation, my lottery items, and I'm going to add that to a lottery game. I have to assign that. So I'm going to choose that plus button to add a new one. I don't know the UPC off the top of my head, so I'm going to choose the lookup hyperlink. I'll search for that. There's the game. I'll choose OK. Notice it's going to automatically populate the description and the price. And then I'll choose save after assigning it to this zone. So that's the entire process of getting the backend, the price book side set up for lottery reconciliation. You have the applicable POS flags. You create the applicable departments. You create your items and assign to the department. And then finally, you assign the item to a lottery item in your lottery reconciliation tab. That's all that needs to be done at corporate. The next side will be done at store level. So I'm going to now go to the point of sale. And I'm going to log in with a person that has permission to go to the settings. So I'm going to go to my actions, settings, settings, and then my reconciliation settings, so recon. Now I need to assign my lottery games to bins. So I'm going to go to this Manage Lottery Games button. I'm going to choose that. Notice these first 3 tickets, they're already assigned to a bin. This new ticket that we just created, that's not assigned. I'm going to assign that to bin number 4. Now, every store is going to have to assign their own lottery games to their bins because that could be different at every location. This is not corporately managed. The store can also deactivate their lottery games by choosing that active checkbox. So if they're no longer going to carry a game, they can mark that as inactive on their side, so it's not going to show up on the reconciliation. So I'm going to close that. We'll go over the rest of these settings here momentarily. We now need to have buttons in place to properly do our redemptions for both lottery and online lottery, as well as the online lottery sales. So I'm going to go to my settings here, and I'm going to go to my POS button editor, and I'm going to put that on my main panel. So we're going to have at least 2 buttons. So I'm going to have this button here as my lotto sale for my online lottery sales. So if we look at how that was built, notice I've got that set to an open department. Now, I'd mentioned this toward the beginning. An open department, that's going to be basically tying a dollar amount for a sale to a single department and then ending the transaction. It's not tying that to an item level inventory. So as you key in open department sales, it's correctly adding in dollar amounts to that department, but you can't tie that dollar amount to any specific item because in this case, there is no item. It's an online lottery. It's sent through an online lottery terminal. So my button type is open department. The caption I've just got to lotto sale. I've got my text in place. The next thing we're going to want to do is assign that open department button to a department. So I've got a department list here. I'm going to choose that little arrow, and I'm going to make sure that the lotto sale is checked. In this case, I only want to have that one checked because whenever I key in a dollar amount, I want it to immediately not prompt me anything else. I want it to tie that to a department for that sale. So I'm going to choose save, and I'm going to choose update. And that's going to make sure that that button, whenever I key in $1, $5, $20, whatever the amount might be, and I press that button, it's immediately tying that dollar value to that online lottery department. Next, we want to do our redemptions. So I've got a button right below that called Lottery and Lotto Payout. And there's going to be one main difference on this button compared to the Sale button. Whenever I go to my Edit button here, notice it's still an open department. It's got a caption, color, and everything. The main difference between these 2 buttons is on this department list, I've got 2 departments rather than 1. And of course, whenever I look at those, it's going to be my payout departments, my lottery payout and my lotto payout. Now, what that's going to do is whenever I actually key in a transaction, $5, and I hit this button, it's then going to prompt me, the cashier, to choose what kind of payout is this. Is it a online lottery payout or is it a lottery payout, a scratch ticket payout? So it's going to prompt the cashier which one of those, what dollar amount should be taken from that department, from which department. So this is how the cashier is going to keep track of the redemptions in their applicable departments. So I'm going to go ahead and save this, and we're going to look at how that actually functions in the point of sale. So I'm about to ring a customer up, and they're doing a $5 lotto sale. online lottery. So I'm going to enter that in on my terminal. Once that's done, I'll enter in $5. Lotto sale, notice it's just immediately tying that $5 to that department. No prompt and no nothing. I'll subtotal. There's no tax added because the POS flag is set to not tax. I'm just going to go ahead and cash that out. Now let's say a customer comes in and they have a winning scratch ticket for $2. I'm going to key in $2, and then I'm going to choose this payout button, and notice it's going to prompt me which department. Because this button has 2 departments assigned to it, it's going to prompt the cashier, which is this coming from. So since it's a scratch ticket, I'm going to do lottery payout, not lotto. Now, due to this POS flag being a negative non-taxable, notice there's a negative amount here. So whenever I subtotal this out, it's expecting me to give cash back from the cash till to the customer. So that's the 2 buttons we're going to need. Now, the next thing we're going to look at is the actual settings whenever you're doing a reconciliation. So I'm going to go back to my settings here. We're going to go to our recon settings. And then first and foremost, for the lottery side, if you want to enable lottery reconciliation, which we do, you want to make sure that this Shift Recon Enable Lottery is checked. If that is unchecked, if that's set to false, then really the below settings are not used at all. The POS is not going to prompt for any type of reconciliation on lottery or lotto. So we want to make sure that's checked. The next setting is lottery uses multiple Zs. So there's pros and cons to having this checked, and it's really coming down to company preference on how they want to handle this. If this is set to false, as in lottery doesn't use multiple Zs, then each and every Z that occurs, each and every shift end that occurs on the POS, the cashier is going to be expected to count lottery tickets. So they're going to input their starting number and their ending numbers. They're going to input from the lotto terminal, they're going to input the printout of the online lottery sales and payouts. Each and every shift. Now, in order for that to be accurate, if you're in a multi-register environment, as in multiple registers at a store, that means that lottery sales and online lottery sales and payouts can only go through one singular register. If you have multiple registers handling lottery tickets and sales and redemptions, then this setting would need to be set to true. Because if it's set to false, then how's the cashier, whenever they enter in, if they had 5 sales on a particular ticket, and when their ending number is, let's say, 90, and their starting number was 10 on that same ticket, then there's going to be a variance. And that's because it only takes into account what it knows. The register only takes into account what it knows. So if there's only 5 sales that went through, it's going to expect that ending number to be 95 rather than 100, or rather than 90. So keep that in mind. If you're doing this set to false, that lottery uses Z set to false, you can only have lottery and lotto sales going through one singular register. Now, if you have this set to true, then you can have lottery sales and lotto sales going through as many registers as you need. The one caveat to that is that the lottery reconciliation can only be done after all shifts have done for the day. So after that final shift, that one person, when they're counting their cash till, they're going to account for everybody's lottery sales throughout their entire day. Not just their shift, not just their register, but all sales for lottery and lotto throughout the entire day. Now, it's simple to do that. The one downside to this method, though, is that if there is a lottery variance, whether it be in lotto or tickets, who had that variance? You're not going to know, because that could have gone through 3 registers and 3 shifts per register when that person's counting tickets at the end of the day. You're just going to know as a manager that there was a variance on this day, but you don't know who had that variance. So there's pros and cons to both sides of that. If you're doing the lottery uses multiple Zs and you have that set to false, every shift does their reconciliation. It's only done on one singular register. If there's a variance, you're going to know who had that variance. Whereas if this is set to true, it's only done once per day. There's no inconvenience to the customers. They can ring up lottery tickets at any register. But if there's a variance on the cashier side, you're not going to know who had that variance. Lottery uses safe. If this is set to true, then that's going to have a safe option at the end of the reconciliation process where you can enter in books and tickets into the safe. That's kind of a holding place for book activations. So as you get in your lottery books from the state, you can place them in the safe. That's its kind of own separate inventory. It's not tied to the actual point of sale inventory. It's its own separate inventory. And then it's going to pull from that whenever there's a book activation. Then there's a lottery start ticket number if you want to lock that. If this is set to true, this would mean that the cashier cannot change their starting ticket numbers ever. Now, ideally, that should be the case. The ending number for the previous shift should always be the starting number for the next shift. If a cashier changes a starting number, that's a signal of a problem. It should never be changed. So I would imagine most of the time you'd want to have that set to true. Then depending on how you handle your lottery counting, your lottery reconciliation, you can have your sort direction for your tickets either be descending, going like from ticket 100 to 99, 98, 97, and so forth, or ascending. Some states have it where it goes from 1, 2, 3, 4, so on and so forth. You have the option of getting your lottery payouts from either a department or a payout account. I always recommend the department, and that's the way we set up earlier. The benefit of doing it via department is that you have your open department buttons, which we've already built, but the big benefit is going to be whenever you're doing a payout, you can have someone that has like a $10 redemption, and they use that $10 credits in the same transaction as a purchase. So they can purchase like a pack of cigarettes, and that $10 covers either the entire transaction or credit toward that pack. It doesn't have to be done in separate transactions. Whereas if you're doing it through a payout account, then you're going to have separate payouts from your transactions on every single payout. So that means that drawer has to be opened that much more. That means there's going to be that many more receipts, that many more transactions. Then you can sort your lottery games on the reconciliation itself by either the bin number, which we're going to do, that's how we have it set up, or by game number if you don't use bins. Then below that, you have where you put in your lottery and lotto sales department numbers and your payout department numbers. Notice I've already got those pre-plugged in, and I've got those directly from Director, my maintenance module, and I just plugged in those applicable department numbers. All right, so that covers our POS settings that are going to be involved in the lottery reconciliation. I'm going to go ahead and cancel this because I've already got that saved. Let's do a transaction in LTCA and do a reconciliation. So I've got 3 of my lottery tickets programmed to a button here. I'm going to just sell 1 ticket here. Not charging tax because it's a tax-free POS flag. I'm going to cash that out. Let's say I want to sell 5 of another one. I'm going to sell 5 of this. Subtotal that out, cash it out. Let's say that I'm done for the day. I'm going to Z my shift out, so ending my shift. Now I'm expected to do my reconciliation. So I'm going to go to my actions. I'm going to go to the reconciliation button here, and I'm going to choose the shift reconciliation. There is my unreconciled shift. So I'm going to select that. And here I'm going to plug in my cash. And then if I had any other sales, which in a normal situation you'd plug in the rest of the numbers there. I'm going to choose continue. This is my lottery activation screen. Now, if you activate a new book, you're going to then have to choose which book is being activated. It's going to have your book number, and you want to plug that book number in that's on that book. And then it'll tie that and show that book number as an activation for this shift. In this case, I didn't have any. I'm going to choose continue. Now I'm going to be counting my actual tickets. So I've already got my starting numbers in place. Once again, that's the ending number for the previous shift. So I had 1 sold here. Notice there's a variance right now. This register sale tells me that I had the system expecting me to have one sale done for that ticket because I haven't accounted for that because 96 and 96, my starting and ending are the same. I have a variance. Well, if I look at my bin and let's say it's ticket number 95, I plug that in, that variance is going to go away because that's what the expected ending number is going to be. This next ticket, I sold 5 of that. So if I put in ticket number, let's say my ending number is ticket number 13 here, notice I have a variance of 1. That essentially means that there's one missing ticket. I'm short, it's red. I'm short 1 ticket. I'm going to go ahead and change that to where there's no variance. I didn't sell this game here, so there's no variance. It's not expecting that number to change. This ticket here is the one we just created. It didn't have an ending number because we just created it. So it has not been accounted for previously. So I'm going to put in my starting number and ending number on this shift. They're the same. So I'm going to choose continue. This screen here, this will show my lotto information. So earlier we had an online lottery sale before we went over the actual POS settings, and I had that for $5. So on that lotto machine, what you'll do is there's always going to be a print function. You'll print out what happened in that shift from that lotto machine, and then you're going to just plug in, there's going to be these same terms here. You're just going to plug in those values that are from that printout. And those will generally tell you what the total sales were, caches, activations, validations, etc. The total number of transactions for each of those. You'll plug that in here just so you have record of that in the POS. So I'm going to choose continue. Then I have my safe. This is where I can actually add books and tickets, if they're not part of a book, to my safe to keep track of that inventory, that kind of in-between place where it's not in the system yet, but I have it on hand to activate. So we had added a book a little bit earlier, that game 1004. So I'm going to actually add that in place here. Let's just say I have 2 full books of that. I choose add. Oops, I need to put my ticket amount here. So now I've got that accounted for in my safe. So here I'm going to add in the number. I'm going to open that safe up and I'm going to look and see what books I actually have on hand. Now, if there's a variance, it's going to let me know there's a variance. Say I have count 3 here. It's letting me know that I'm actually +2 on my variances. If I put in 0, that's letting me know that I'm -1, I'm short that book. It's going to keep track of what you're supposed to have. So when I'm done with my reconciliation, whether it be just a shift or a shift including lottery, I want to make sure that this reconciliation as final is checked. That way it'll go to corporate. So that finalized that shift reconciliation, including the lottery. Now let's add one step onto that. Let's add a book activation. So we're going to do one quick sale here. I'm going to sell 101 of this ticket here. We're going to go ahead and end our shift. That's the only thing that's going to occur. Now I'm going to do the reconciliation process once more. So I'll go to my actions, reconciliation, shift reconciliation. I'm going to do my cash tail counting. And I had a lottery activation there. Due to this book only having 100 tickets in it, and I sold 101 tickets, obviously that means I have to pull one of those books from the safe, activate it, and then put it in the bin. So that book's going to have a book number on it. So I'm just going to say that was book number 2 here. I'm going to activate that book. I'm going to continue. So since I sold 101, technically if I'm looking at that bin and I look at my ending number would be 94. Notice there's a variance of 100. That's because I haven't put in the additional books sold. So if you sell over a book's quantity in one shift, you have to account for that in the reconciliation. So since I sold one full book plus one ticket, I put in one there. And then the variance will go away. That's essentially telling the system that you sold 101 tickets. I'll continue. There's no online lottery transactions done. I'll continue. Then I'm going to put in my book values. Notice I had 2 earlier for this lottery. Ticket number 1, I had 2 books. There's now 1. The reason that is because I did a book activation. That's going to take one from it's assuming that you're taking one from the safe, activating that, and then adding that to inventory. So I'm now going to mark that as final and save. Now we're going to go back to Director real fast, and we're going to look at that lottery ticket number 1. We're going to take note of the inventory level. I sold 101 tickets, and then previously I'd sold a couple more tickets. Notice our inventory is negative 106. That can't happen. That's where the book activation comes into play. Anytime you have a book activation, whenever you're viewing that reconciliation in your inventory module and lottery reconciliation, that was shift number 6 we just did. Whenever I view that, I'm going to see there is a book activation done. And it's going to, of course, tell me like the details of that shift. Who is the employee? What's the starting number, ending number? Was there a variance, etc.? The important thing in this situation is that there was activation. So what I need to do here is I need to activate and apply that activation. So to do that, you'll select your vendor, your lottery vendor, and you'll choose the Apply Activations. What that's going to do is that's going to create an invoice. So I'm going to go ahead and close out of this. I'm going to go to my receiving module now. And then notice there's now going to be for that Z number shift 6, shift number 1, there's an invoice number. That's essentially telling me that it's applying 100 tickets to my inventory, one of that vendor part. So I'm going to apply that invoice. And then that's going to actually add 100 tickets to my inventory. Now, in the lottery reconciliation tab, there's also, of course, you're going to see all of these reconciliations. You can quick filter to just where there's a variance. Reports, you can also do a summary report. Just showing you a quick example of what that looks like. You can do that based on a date range. That's going to give you just an at-a-glance view of lottery reconciliation information, book activations, online sales, register data, etc., any kind of variances in that time period. And then we have our lottery items tab, which we've already gone over. If you ever need to update the item counts, this is a corporate-only function. You can actually update the lottery item counts. You just choose what store, what ticket. Make sure you put in the correct game number and then how many of those tickets you have. Okay, so that covers the lottery reconciliation process from building the POS flags, departments, items, and lottery game, mapping that to a bin number, creating the applicable buttons, and then the process itself. I hope everybody learned something new today. Once again, these webinars, they occur every Friday at 9 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Eastern. You can see a list of those if you go to our website, goftx.com, choose that FTX Lifeline button, followed by choosing the webinar button, and that'll show you a list of all the webinars we have that you can sign up for, as well as review the previous recording. I hope everybody has a great 4th of July. If you have any questions on this topic, let us know at websupport@FasTraxPOS.com. And if you have any questions or suggestions on future webinar topics, let us know at info@goftx.com. Thank you, and have a great weekend.